What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie Fountain of Youth. Here's a quick synopsis. Archaeologist Luke Perdue persuades his estranged sister Charlotte to help him find the legendary Fountain of Youth. The film stars John Krasinski, Natalie Portman, Donald Gleason, Isa Gonzalez, Arian Moayed, and Stanley Tucci. Standout performances. There's only been a handful of A-list movie stars that have worked with director Guy Ritchie, and they include Brad Pitt in Snatch, giving one of the funniest turns of his career as a bare-knuckle boxer, Robert Downey Jr. in the two Sherlock Holmes films, Will Smith in Aladdin, the only thing I liked about that movie, Matthew McConaughey and Colin Farrell in The Gentleman, and Jake Gyllenhaal in The Covenant. Natalie Portman in Fountain of Youth is far and away the biggest actress the director has ever worked with, no offense to Aubrey Plaza and Rachel McAdams. Portman's involvement is what got me most interested in this movie. Surely there must be something special to attract the talents of an Oscar winner. Sadly, that wasn't the case. Portman as Charlotte isn't bad, and I do think she was trying. She just wasn't given a whole lot to work with, especially in the case of dialogue. The movie thinks it's giving the character a noteworthy arc of recent divorcee who is longing for adventure, and while that could be interesting, it's more or less just a throwaway in this movie. When it comes to Portman, I had this thought after watching Fountain of Youth. Have we wasted her in mainstream entertainment? I mean, she's done her best work in smaller, more artsy films, The Black Swans, The Jackies, Garden State, one of my favorites. When it comes to movies for mainstream audiences, she's had some bad luck. I mean, the Star Wars prequels are movies that I like, but are complicated. Not everyone's on board with those. Then you have her history in the Marvel movies, which is up and down. I mean, she's really good in the first Thor movie, but then in the sequel, it's a dud. I like Thor Love and Thunder more than most people, but again, that's a movie that people have mixed feelings on. I desperately want to see Natalie Portman in a movie that is both popular and great, because in my opinion, she's both a great movie star and a great actress, and there aren't a lot of those out there. It's like, guys, can we get her in a Christopher Nolan movie? Can we get her in a film directed by Steven Spielberg? Can we get her a franchise that's going to give her decent things to do? Natalie Portman's next movies include the animated film Twits with Emilia Clarke, The Gallerist with Jenna Ortega, Sterling K. Brown, Divine Joy Randolph, and Zach Galifianakis, and Good Sex with Mark Ruffalo. It's a rom-com from Lena Dunham, which is also going to co-star Meg Ryan, the icon of the genre. Let's move on to Portman's co-star in Fountain of Youth, John Krasinski, and it pains me to say this, but this movie has a leading man problem, and in this case, the leading man is Krasinski. You know him as Jim from The Office. In my opinion, he's a brilliant comedic actor. I have always held the opinion he's the best thing about Nancy Meyers is it's complicated. Krasinski has the exact same issue Chris Pratt has. He wanted to go from being a great side character in a beloved sitcom to becoming a serious dramatic actor. In the words of Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight, why so serious? Krasinski first made the turn in Jack Ryan on Amazon. It's an okay TV show, but does not play to the actor's strengths. I don't know how to feel about Krasinski right now. He did great work directing the first two A Quiet Place films, but then he had the massive misfire in If, which I regret watching. I haven't even mentioned the disaster of him playing Reed Richards in Multiverse of Madness. I'll never understand what that was all about. Krasinski is tasked in Fountain of Youth with playing Luke Perdue, an adventurous archaeologist, and my biggest problem with the performance is that he's not having any fun playing the role. Everyone wants to compare this character in this movie to Indiana Jones, and yeah, that's the high watermark, but there have been semi-successful performances in lesser movies. I'm thinking of Brendan Fraser in the Mummy movies and Nicolas Cage in the National Treasure films. Those two actors were able to sell those movies no matter how absurd they can be at times. Fountain of Youth wasn't asking Krasinski to be a great actor. It was asking him to be a movie star which sadly I don't think he is. I think it's fair to say that the movie was asking too much of him. I mean, it was really asking him to carry the entire film, but that's what the role is. This movie doesn't work if you don't care about that character, and I did not care about that character, and I find it hard to believe that many of you out there care about this character whatsoever. The thing about Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones is you care about that guy no matter what journey he is on. It's not about what he's going after. Going after the Fountain of Youth isn't all of that interesting. It's about the character and the actor themselves. You want to spend time watching Harrison Ford play that guy. I don't want to watch John Krasinski play this guy. That's the problem with this movie. And finally, the only performance I would categorize from this movie as good comes from Isa Gonzalez. She's seemingly the only actor who knows what kind of movie she's making. You can tell she's having fun and she's committing to a tone. There's a consistency in her performance that lacks from the others in the movie. Not to pile on John Krasinski, but I am of the belief that I would rather have just watched a 90-minute Fountain of Youth starring Natalie Portman and Isa Gonzalez teaming up together to find the Fountain of Youth. That may have been the better movie than the one I watched. And before I go on, I do want to talk a little bit more about Krasinski because I did view this movie as a bit of a test. I mean, it was his first major acting role in a movie since the first A Quiet Place film, and I don't know if you've seen that movie, but he doesn't have to do a whole lot of talking in that one. This was a case test to see if John Krasinski can lead a movie like this. And the answer for me right now is no. Moving forward, I'm going to be way more invested in his career as a director than I am in his career as an actor. I think the next movie he should be looking to do should be a full-on comedy where he gets to play that charming, funny guy from The Office and It's Complicated. That's what he should be looking for, not the lead of an adventure movie. And I know the next movie he's going to do is a movie adaptation of Jack Ryan. We've seen those movies before. I don't see him bringing anything new to that one. I'm just completely baffled right now at the state of the career of John Krasinski. I know it's hard to believe, but I've been a fan of his at times. The director of Fountain of Youth is Guy Ritchie, who is a director I care about a lot. When he makes a new movie, I have to see it. And as time has gone on, he's become more and more prolific. How I view him, though, is as an auteur. He's a guy with a signature style, and the movies of his that don't work for me are the ones that lack that style. They don't feel like they were authored by him. Aladdin, for example, does not feel like a Guy Ritchie movie, and neither does Fountain of Youth. And what, in my opinion, is a Guy Ritchie movie? It's a movie that is fast-paced, with slick and raunchy dialogue, filled with tons of interesting characters at the center of them. You know the movies I'm talking about: Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrels, Snatch. Those movies are fun. You don't even care about the plot, you're just having a good time watching them. I will even defend his King Arthur movie. I love The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I love The Gentleman. What Fountain of Youth has in common with Aladdin is I believe Guy Ritchie was trying to make a movie to appease everyone, and that is just simply not that interesting to me. Especially when you consider he can make a popular movie out of his signature style. I mean, he did that with the two Sherlock movies starring Robert Downey Jr. I mean, those films truly feel like movies written and directed by Guy Ritchie. Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law are having a blast. That's the kind of mainstream movie I want Guy Ritchie to make. Are those movies better than Snatch? No. But if he's going to make a mainstream movie, that's the one I want, not Fountain of Youth. And that's the other problem I have with Aladdin and Fountain of Youth, is I want to see those caliber of actors in those kinds of Guy Ritchie action movies. I want to see Will Smith in a movie like Snatch. I want to see Natalie Portman in Rock and Rolla. I want to see them in those kinds kinds of movies, and that's not what I'm getting. And I know that's silly to think that he was going to do a full-on Guy Ritchie movie in a Disney live-action version of Aladdin. Maybe I can forgive him for that, but I will not forgive him for Fountain of Youth. I thought this movie was going to be a full-on Guy Ritchie flick. And maybe I'm being too harsh about it, but I just have higher standards when it comes to this director. Guy Ritchie's next films include In the Gray, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Henry Cavill, Isa Gonzalez, and Rosamund Pike, Wife and Dog, starring Pike, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Anthony Hopkins, and Roadhouse 2, starring Gyllenhaal. See, two of those free movies I'm excited about. I want to see Benedict Cumberbatch work with Guy Ritchie. It's Roadhouse 2 that I'm worried about. I don't know how invested Guy Ritchie is going to be in that movie, or if he's going to make it feel like a Guy Ritchie film. I didn't care for the first one, directed by Doug Liman, a director I also really like. I fully understand his desire to make movies that he knows a lot of people are going to see, and I get it. Maybe those movies like Aladdin, like Fountain of Youth, allow him to make movies like The Gentleman. It just doesn't mean I have to like those movies. More problems I have with Fountain of Youth. Well, for one thing, the plot is, in my humble opinion, lazy. I mean, there are moments where the characters are talking about their past, and I thought to myself, this sounds better than the actual movie I'm watching. The other thing that really bothered me is the look of this movie. It is not a good-looking movie. I mean, the first scene should be really good. John Krasinski is in a car chase. That should be epic. That should be a lot of fun, but it did not look good. To put it mildly, this is the type of movie that gives streaming films a bad reputation. I mean, I just don't understand why they did not prioritize the look of the film. I mean, reportedly, this movie cost over $200 million for Apple. I mean, did all of that money go into getting John Krasinski and Natalie Portman? Because it just doesn't feel like it went into the actual look of the movie. And I do believe I might have been able to forgive the other sins of this movie if it looked good, but it didn't. It only piled on to the problems I had with Fountain of Youth. If you are listening to this podcast and do not like the fact that I'm being negative, I want you to know I very badly wanted to like this movie. I generally like the actors involved, and as I stated, like Guy Ritchie, I didn't want this to be a masterpiece. I just wanted it to be fun and entertaining, and in my opinion, it's not that, and it's not even close. I'm not mad because I believe that Fountain of Youth is a terrible movie. I don't. I'm mad because I think this is a movie that had potential. I rate movies based off of, did they make the kind of movie they were attempting to make? And my take is, they did not. I find this movie to be completely incoherent at times. I can talk about the look of the movie all day long. I can talk about the plot of the movie all day long. I believe the ultimate failure of the movie is the lack of chemistry between Natalie Portman and John Krasinski. If those two clicked as siblings in this movie, then I think I would have liked this movie a whole lot more. That's what movies come down to for me. When you have two stars, if those stars have chemistry, the movie is going to work itself out. I go back to The Mummy. Why did The Mummy work? Because Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz clicked. There was just none of that for Portman and Krasinski. There's not one scene where they were really good together. I just felt the whole thing was lacking throughout. They had zero chemistry. And that's why I go back to this thing that the movie was asking Krasinski to do a whole lot. It was asking him to have chemistry with Natalie Portman, who's playing his sister, and Isa Gonzalez, who's playing his rival, who he flirts with at times. This is the absolute last thing I'll say about John Krasinski in the movie Fountain of Youth. I really do believe the problem is this is a guy who is used to playing likable characters, and I believed he had trouble playing this guy who you're not supposed to like at times. He's supposed to get you to question the fact whether or not he would sell his family away for fame and fortune. I was thinking about other actors who could have played the role of Luke Perdue in Fountain of Youth, and the one name I could come up with is Mark Wahlberg, because I think Mark Wahlberg can sell you on this idea that you don't know whether or not he's a good guy. You can at times in a movie think he's a bad guy, and then by the end of the movie, he can get you to believe that he's turned into a good one. That's the ability that Mark Wahlberg has as a movie star that I believe is ultimately lacking from John Krasinski. Now I think is a good time to talk about Apple original movies. They have recently made movies I enjoy. Napoleon, Wolves and the Gorge, and ones that I have real problems with. Fly Me to the Moon, The Instigators, and I would add Fountain of Youth to that as well. And my reading of them is they just want to make movies full of stars, and that can work. That can get eyeballs on them, but sometimes the movies themselves are lacking. Yes, they put real money into Killers of the Flowers Moon, but they haven't done movies like that enough, and they have two upcoming films that I'm really interested in, and they are F1, starring Brad Pitt, directed by Joseph Kosinski, and Highest to Lowest, starring Denzel Washington from Spike Lee. If these movies work, they will make more like them, and if they don't, I don't know what kind of movies Apple is going to continue to make. The big question right now is, what is Apple actually getting by investing this kind of money in the movies that they're making? Like I said earlier, Fountain of Youth cost over $200 million. There are rumors that F1 cost an enormous amount of money. The question is, will Apple continue to buy these movies like Drunken Sailors, or at some point will they go, wow, we're not getting back what we're putting into them? And that right there has always been the confusing element when it comes to these streaming services. Already it has been reported that there have been lots of eyeballs on this movie, Fountain of Youth. But what does that actually mean for Apple? Who cares if I go on Apple TV Plus and watch this movie? What are they getting out of that? Are they getting enough new subscribers to justify that crazy amount of spending on a movie like this? Only they know the answer to that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were to announce in the next coming weeks there's going to be a sequel to Fountain of Youth. I just wouldn't be. I mean, I just don't know anything about how they view success when it comes to movies like this. I mean, they don't care about the critical aspects of them. I don't think so. All I can say on that front is it would take a massive upgrade of a sequel for me to talk about this again on the podcast. I mean, this was a movie I was hyped for. One of my favorite directors working with, at least on paper, big stars. Natlie Portman, John Krasinski, who I thought this was going to be a big test for. Donald Gleason, who I haven't even talked about on this podcast. I'm a fan of that guy as an actor. There's a twist with his character I did not enjoy. It is a more than fair critique to say that Fountain of Youth is just a retread of an Indiana Jones movie, a Mummy movie, or a National Treasure movie. I did not enjoy it on that level, though. I didn't think it paid proper homage to those kinds of movies. And I want to make this straight. I wasn't wanting this movie to do anything new. I wasn't thinking it was going to rewrite the entire genre, just play the hits well, and it wasn't able to do that. Usually just by hearing about a movie, I can go, wow, I'm probably going to like this movie. And on paper, Fountain of Youth was that kind of movie. Oh, it's this director I really like, this bunch of actors doing something I haven't seen them do before. I'm probably going to like this movie. So maybe that's why I'm rattled. I'm just so confused by the final product I was given. I wasn't looking for Fountain of Youth to become one of my all-time favorite movies. I was just looking for it to be two things, fun and entertaining. And I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it was neither of those two things. Right now, I view it as my most disappointing movie of 2025. I really thought this was going to be a crowd-pleasing film. And believe me, I wanted nothing more to enjoy it. But sadly, I didn't, and here we are. It always hurts when a movie I've been long anticipating just doesn't work for me. And no matter how many times it's happened throughout my life, I'm always surprised when I don't like a movie that feels like was made for me. Fountain of Youth feels like a movie they made for me, yet in my opinion, they failed. world. Maybe the real lesson here should be if you're going to get Stanley Tucci to be in your movie, it should be for more than one scene. I mean, between this and The Electric State, it's been a rough 2025 for Stanley Tucci so far. Get that great actor back in great movies immediately. He deserves better. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about the movie Mountainhead, written and directed by Jesse Armstrong, starring Steve Carell, Jason Schwartzman, Corey Michael Smith, and Rami Youssef. So tune into that, and please rate, review, and subscribe.